Welcome to Ashley's Kitchen. Today we're going to talk a little bit about breakfast. Now, if you have been around me very much and we've talked about food and how you should eat and how you shouldn't eat, you may have already heard my breakfast speech. My family could probably tell it to you by heart. But maybe you've not heard it before. Well, let me put it in brief. Breakfast is really important. It's called breakfast for a reason. Break fast. When you sleep through the night, and hopefully you're not one of those that gets up in the middle of the night to have a nice big snack, your body is in fast mode. And while your body's in fast mode, it's restoring itself, it's rebuilding, it's doing some great things for you while you're sleeping. But when you get up in the morning, you want to break the fast. Unless you're doing one of those special 5-2 diets or 8-16 diets, normally you want to eat a healthy breakfast pretty quickly when you get up in the morning. What should your breakfast include? Well, I think it's really important for you to have some protein in there. Often my girls will eat breakfast and I'll say, "What did you have?" And maybe they'll say a banana or something, and I say, "Where's your protein? You got to have some protein in there." Protein helps that food you just ate last longer. It carries you longer into the day. So we're going to make a couple things today and hopefully give you some good ideas for breakfast. One of my favorites is homemade granola. Now you may ask, where's the protein in homemade granola? That's a really good question. Oatmeal doesn't have a whole lot of protein, but we're going to add some nuts in there, and nuts are a really healthy source of protein. And then towards the end of the show today, we're going to put together a parfait using our homemade granola and a couple other ingredients. So let's get started with our homemade granola. And I'm going to try to post this recipe at the end of the show, so you don't need to feel like you have to write every ingredient down as we go. So we're going to put in some oatmeal, and I love to double this recipe because our family goes through it pretty quickly, and I don't want to make it all the time. I want to have it on hand. So I'm going to put in 7 cups of granola. So that is a lot of granola, and I buy it in pretty large quantities so that we have it on hand, because another really good thing for breakfast is hot cereals. Cream of wheat, I know it's old-fashioned, or Malt-O-Meal. Those are healthy solutions, and by the way, I like to throw in a little extra oatmeal. So if you were counting, it should be a little extra. But those hot cereals are nice to have in the morning. Unfortunately, they don't have a whole lot of protein, so you might want to throw some nuts on there also. Okay, so we have our oatmeal right here, and I like to go ahead and jump to my spices here, my seasonings, so that I can mix all my dry ingredients together. This is cinnamon, and for a double recipe, I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and let's see, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. I really like nutmeg. It's an unusual flavor. Some people just don't like it. My nutmeg tends to get all kind of little chunks in there. So I'm just pressing that out. So hopefully we won't have so many chunks. And then we're going to take a little bit of salt, about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now I'm not going to measure. I'm just going to put a couple pinches in and toss that. Okay, so we have our dry seasonings, and I'm going to go ahead and mix that together. And we need to get our oven preheating while we're mixing up our recipe. And this bakes at 325 for 30 minutes. So this is why I do it ahead, because in the morning when you need breakfast, I don't normally want to mix something together and then put it in the oven for 30 minutes. That's just not going to be a quick breakfast. when we need it right away. So this is really great to make if you have a morning at home, or maybe Saturday afternoon or something, you're going to get it ready for the week ahead. And this will last a pretty good while. And of course, you can eat your homemade granola with milk. Milk also has a little bit of protein in it. So, all right, so we've got our spices and our oatmeal in there. And now it calls for coconut. And lately, I have not been able to find the unsweetened organic coconut, and that's really what I prefer, because I like to not get any extra sugar in there that I don't have to have. But this is sweetened coconut, so we're just going to go with that. And then we also need a cup of nuts. My little nut grinder is missing its lid, so I just put my hand over it and we go for it. These are walnuts, but you can use any kind of nut that you would like. You could use almonds, pecans. Granola is great because you can make it how your family likes it. You don't have to put in the coconut. You might find something else. You might like to put dates in. So it's really versatile, and you can make it how your family likes it. You can even leave some of those nuts kind of chunky in here. I like that sometimes when you bite into granola and they're a little bit chunky. And we're going to do another one of these because we need about 1 cup. So, and again, this is for a double recipe. So don't think that if you're going to make just one recipe, you've got to have all this ingredients. This is a double recipe. So, and I store it, by the way, after it cools, I store it in a gallon Ziploc bag. And it will keep on the shelves quite a while in your pantry. You don't have to refrigerate it. So, all right. Our nuts are about chopped there. And we're going to put in some larger ones. Break those up a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to mix this up again. I like to try to have my ingredients blended pretty well. I don't really want a serving of oatmeal with no nuts or no coconut or no cinnamon. So I like to blend it up pretty well. Okay, and what we need to do next is add our oil. I like to use coconut oil. Coconut oil is a really healthy oil, and with our double batch, again, we're going to use a 1/2 cup of coconut oil. So I learned the hard way to do my coconut oil before my maple syrup, because the maple syrup comes out of the fridge and it's cold and it doesn't make things blend very well with the coconut oil if I've just put in a bunch of whole maple syrup. So I'm going to put this coconut oil in here. And you could melt this on the stove before you put it in so that it's a liquid. Or you can do what I'm doing and you can just mix it the best you can, and then maybe a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes after your oatmeal, your granola has started to bake, you can pull that out and just mix it a little bit through to make sure that coconut oil is well blended. So we're kind of mixing this up, kind of almost chopping that coconut oil through there. And you can use other oils. You don't have to use coconut oil, but when it's convenient, I like to use healthier oils instead of just like a canola, but you certainly can use what you have on hand. One of the things, the more I cook, the more I learn about substitutions. And a lot of times you can take a recipe and adapt it with the ingredients you have on hand. So don't feel like you have to have exactly what I have here. Okay, so you get the point. We want to blend that together really nicely. And then we want to add a half cup of sweetener. You could use honey. I really like to use maple syrup. And it's the same amount as your oil. And so I'm going to drizzle that over. Is it making you hungry yet? All right. So let's mix that together. And then we're going to see if our oven is not quite preheated. So some of my girls eat some interesting things sometimes for breakfast. Sometimes it will be a grilled cheese or maybe a leftover from a meal we've had. And I guess as long as they're eating a good breakfast, that's okay. I hope that they have some protein in there, some carbs maybe to get that energy going for the day. And do you know, I really think that there are tricks you can do for your metabolism, because I want to keep my metabolism going. And so I drink a glass of water almost first thing when I get up in the morning. If you've not heard of doing that, check it out online. Drinking a glass of water before you even come downstairs. And then I eat breakfast pretty quickly also, because I want my metabolism to kick in and I want to get this engine started for the day. And so there are some things you can do to get that metabolism going and burn more calories throughout the day. So we've got this ready, and I'm going to make sure. Okay, we forgot one thing, and that is a tablespoon, which in this case would be 2 tablespoons of vanilla. And I am sorry to say that this is imitation vanilla. I normally would like to have the real thing, but it has gotten so expensive. I just think, you know what? We can do without the real vanilla. It's not that big of an ingredient. And for now, we're just gonna usually go with the imitation. So let's stir that up. Oh, and what I like to normally do, I like to put that vanilla in with my sweetener, with my maple syrup, and mix it through there so that it gets blended throughout the granola more evenly. But I forgot that. So we're just gonna blend it right now. And again, I'm gonna pull this out of the oven in about 10 minutes or so. Ooh, good. Our oven's preheated. Good timing. And I'm gonna pull this out in maybe 10 minutes and give it a little stir, and to make sure my coconut oil is all through there. Okay, so let's get this in the oven. Here we go. You wanna see what it looks like? Doesn't that look good? All right, so I do about middle of the oven and set the timer. I'm gonna go for 30 minutes, but try to remember to get it out in about 10 minutes to give it a little stir through. So we'll take a break, and when we come back, hopefully our oatmeal will have baked and our granola will be all ready to pull out of the oven. Welcome back to Ashley's Kitchen. Today we're making granola, and we're gonna put together some parfaits in just a minute. We've got about 2 minutes left on our timer for our granola, and we're talking about breakfast today and how important breakfast is to break the fast, to have a little bit of protein in there. And last show, we talked about eggs, and of course a great breakfast would be 2 eggs and either maybe a half piece of some sprouted grain toast, if you're trying to watch your calories, your bread intake, or a way that I've found that I can do without the bread is 2 eggs and then follow it up with an orange. And that takes that egg taste away if you don't like that egg aftertaste. So hopefully those are some helpful ideas. All right, so we have 48 seconds to go. We're gonna pull this granola out, give it a little stir, and then put together our parfaits. So get ready. And I have never done this, but you could put together some parfaits ahead of time with our granola. So I'm going to try that today, and we'll see how it turns out. See if my family likes it or if it gets yucky in the fridge. So it would be nice to put that together ahead of time. So in the morning, you just pull out your little jars of parfaits, and your sweet little kiddos have their breakfast parfaits. They can even eat it in the car. So we're going to try that and see if the texture still is good. Okay, turn off our timer and our oven. And usually when this bakes, it smells so good. It just makes the house smell great. So there's our homemade granola, and it's hot right now. So most people won't want to have it with milk right now because it's pretty hot. So I'll give this a little bit of a stir, and let's put together some parfaits. Why are parfaits so good for you? If you use Greek yogurt, plain Greek yogurt, which by itself to me would be nasty, but it is a great base for a lot of things. And it's also a great substitute for sour cream. If you can get that past your family, sour cream becomes actually healthy. So let's start our parfaits. Okay, here we go. One serving of Greek yogurt has 17 grams of protein. Now, one serving, they say, is 2/3 cup. That's a lot. So I would probably not use that much in one serving for myself. So let's do our parfaits. Let's put a little bit of granola in the bottom. And like I said, I'm going to do a jar and put it in the fridge overnight and see how it turns out. So some granola in the bottom. And then we're going to do our Greek yogurt over top of that. Can you see that? And let's do it in our little jar. So you can make this as large or small. If you have young children, Ashley, I know you do, then you might want to make this fairly small unless they have a really good appetite. But for an adult, you can make this as large or small as you want. So we have a little bit of a layer of granola and then our Greek yogurt. And right now is a really good time if you want to add some spices like some cinnamon, and if you want to get a little bit daring, some ginger. And these spices are so good for you. I'm going to leave the ginger off of that one because I'm going to see if my family wants this, and they'd probably prefer it just with the cinnamon. But you could do cardamom, nutmeg, some cloves, however you enjoy those really tasty spices. And then at this point, it's a good time to add a little bit of sweetener. You will want sweetener with your Greek yogurt. Again, you can use the maple syrup, or you can use honey. Honey is really good for you, especially raw local honey. It's really good for you. So we're going to give that a little bit of honey, a little bit of sweetener for our unsweetened Greek yogurt. And then we're going to put another layer of granola in. And let's put a little bit more. That second layer of granola for our jar that we're going to put in the fridge. And then over top, you can do frozen blueberries. And they are so good for you and really tasty. So we're going to put that over the top of each. And we're going to put the lid on this, put it in the fridge overnight, and we'll see how that turns out. If the texture is good, then that is a really convenient way to go because you can put these together ahead of time and put them in the fridge. So we have our parfait ready, and I think you would probably want to stir this up because then you get all the flavors together. You get the blueberries, and it starts to turn purple, which is a wonderful color, of course, especially kids love purple. And so you've got your granola, your honey getting all through there, and your cinnamon. And let's see how it is. Very refreshing and tasty way to have a good breakfast or an afternoon snack.